Today I'm going to take you through what's in my camera bag on a normal day when I'm out shooting. My camera bag is an Stop Sukha. It's about a 70 litre bag, gives you all the benefits of a really large bag, but I've still got camera access on the rear, which for me was super important when I chose this bag. I wanted a bag that was big enough to take with me everything I needed. I didn't need to compromise on any gear, but I still wanted to keep having access to all my camera equipment nice and easy. For ages I was having to make sacrifices on certain bits of gear I wanted to take out with me, or if I went on an overnight camp I'd take a much bigger bag, but then I wouldn't have access to my lenses, which ultimately meant I wouldn't take as many photos. You'd miss opportunities because I can't be bothered getting my sleeping bag out, my roll mat, my tent out, just to get a different lens. So I went for the biggest bag I could find, and I've gotten on really well with this. Despite it being a little bit larger and me carrying heavier gear, I actually prefer this to carrying a lighter bag and a lighter setup. It's a very, very comfortable bag in my opinion. So everything in this video is going to be the stuff I take with me on a normal day. If we're heading out from the van for a short walk, half an hour, 35-40 minutes, we're doing a shoot nearby to the van or a commercial project, this is what I take out. It is quite a heavy setup. I've just weighed it on the scales and comes in at about 13-14 kilograms, so it's quite a heavy bag setup. Obviously I don't take this if I'm doing a longer hike or if I'm doing any mountaineering or anything really major. I've got a lighter weight setup that I'd use for that, and maybe I'll touch on in the future. But this is everything I take with me on a normal day out. So if we start with the bag, we've got obvious chest strap, waist strap, we've got rear camera access here. There's these two nice large pockets on either side. On the front, there's another really nice large pocket. And then we've got the top compartment as well. I've got the Peak Design clip set up on the strap, which is great for being able to stow your camera away on your strap when you're not using it, and then you can quickly gain access to it again if you want it. Getting this really changed how much I shoot. When I used to put my camera away in my bag when I was walking between locations and between shots, having it on your chest strap means you don't miss as many moments. No matter how motivated you are to take shots, there's always going to be those times when your camera's in your bag and you're like, well, I don't know if I can maybe bother to get it out to take that shot. So having it on your strap really helps to make sure you shoot as much as you want to and can do. As well as that, there's also plenty of nice side straps in case you want to attach anything on the outside. There's a little flap here for your hydration if you want to keep your water nice and easy to hand. And there's this really nice grab handle on the side, which is really good for if you are picking up heavy bag on the ground, you can use that to help you get it back onto your shoulder. It means you're not always taking the weight in the shoulder straps where it can be quite a vicious movement. Something I do quite regularly to all my bags is I will try to modify and remove anything that's annoying me too much about it. So one of my big gripes with bags is you end up with all this extra flappy straps that just hang around everywhere. What I do is I get them nice and tight and then I wrap black tape around them, just lock them off so there's not any of that distraction of the strap floating around, no loosening off from my waist strap. And all my straps have got this black tape wrapped around just to remove any of those extra straps that can whip around, hit you in the face, loosen your bag off. Just really helps to make it a bit more of a comfortable experience. Let's get into it and we'll start on the outside and work our way inwards. Side pocket number one, got a big water bottle. Don't always take water out with me, and I definitely don't drink enough water when I'm out, but it's something I'm trying to ensure that I do more, so big water bottle is always handy. In the other side, I keep my GoPro selfie stick, which extends out to quite a nice size. It's really robust, really hardy, I'm not going to break it in a hurry. On the end of this, I've got my bike mount, the one that holds my mouth like that. I use this for recording a lot of the vlogs and doing any POV stuff, where it's really easy just to put the GoPro in your mouth and hold it in your mouth for a minute, and then you can easily take it out and turn it around to look at yourself as well. It's a nice compromise on the chest strap, head strap, where you can't really take it off too quickly. That's usually paired with the GoPro Hero9 that this video is being shot on. So I won't show the actual GoPro in the video, but that is a Hero9 with the added Media Mod, which boosts microphone performance and gives you a couple little cold shoes so that you can mount lights or any extra stuff you need. In the really big front pocket of this bag, I usually keep a waterproof jacket. You never know when you're going to be out and you're going to get caught in the rain. Sometimes I'll be wearing this before we head out, or if it's an okay day and I don't think I'll need it, I'll just keep it in the front here. It doesn't weigh anything, so it's just nice to have in case you ever need it. It can also always come in useful if you do want to lie down, kneel down. Sometimes I will use it in that capacity where it's just acting more as like a dirt mat rather than actually keeping me dry from the rain. This front pocket on the bag is really, really large. It's the whole length of the bag. You can fit a lot in there. If I'm camping, I'll fit my whole tent in here, as well as a couple of extra little bits. So it's really nice to have all this space on this bag. You can really use it in a load of different ways. Top pocket. This is the messy pocket, the one where you end up with all sorts of stuff in there. First up, we've got a pair of really thin, just glove liners. These are Sealskinz, they're really stretchy, quite soft and warm. Always keep those in there. They're not really there to stop extreme cold weather or to be waterproof or keep my hands dry. They're just there mainly for wind chill, which is one of the biggest things that I think impacts when you're shooting in the outdoors, especially in cold environments. When you're flying the drone, taking photos, your hands get really cold. And wearing big thick gloves is just going to limit your ability to use the camera. So I always keep a pair of thin gloves in my camera bag, and I use them an awful lot. Got some category 3 sunglasses, which have got some nice blinders on the side, keep out all that extra sunlight. Really helpful in the sun, especially if it's snowy conditions out and you've got lots of sunlight and UV light bouncing around and heading up into your eyes. It's also quite helpful on bright days to keep sunglasses on so that your eyes stay naturally more adjusted to darker light, so that when you do look for your viewfinder, your eyes are more adjusted to that dimmer light. They've got some nice over-the-ear loops so they don't fall off if you're moving around, and there's a neck strap too, so if I do want to take photos or get them out of the way, I can just drop them off around my neck. Very, very important thing now, always make sure these are charged and ready to go. Walkie-talkies, these guys come in use so often when we're out and shoot, just to help simplify the communication progress when you're shooting. If you've got someone walking a distance away from you to try and get a shot, having these really helps just to stay in touch, line up those shots, get those angles, make sure you're perfectly in sync with each other. Got a Lume Cube 2.0. This little light is really bright and powerful. It's a good little LED light keeping your bag. It's got a built-in filter mount on the front with a load of magnetic filters you can easily take off to diffuse the light, make it warm, cold. Really nice, simple, robust light. It's drop proof, smash proof, fully waterproof. I've had this fully underwater using it for lighting. It can also be controlled from your phone via an app, so you can fine-tune and adjust the brightness remotely. This is so helpful if you're doing astro night photography with a tent. You can put this in the tent, walk away to your tripod, set everything up, do one exposure, realise the tent is a bit too blown out, too bright, and then from your phone, just dim it down remotely until it's the perfect exposure and you're not blowing out any of those whites. Really, really helpful bit of kit. Another little light, we've got a GoPro Mini LED, similar function really to that last one. It's a nice bright LED light, sits in my bag all the time. This is great because it works really well with the GoPro ecosystem, so not only can I mount this on top of the Media Mod housing, but I can also link this to any of the clamps, GoPro mounts I've got. It really helps to put this wherever you want it to be if you do need that extra bit of lighting. Peak Design strap. This here is an awesome bit of kit. If you've not got one of these, definitely check them out. If you're like me at all, you really don't like camera straps that either mean your camera gets bashed around as you're walking, you try and take photos and this thing's flipping around and whipping you in the face. Camera straps just frustrate me, and most of the time I don't run one. There are times though when you do want a camera strap, and for that the Peak Design strap comes in so handy. It's got quick release points at either end, so you can attach it and detach it from your camera in a matter of seconds. And then the strap itself can be really easily adjusted in length using these clips. So it's great for being able to quickly put a strap on, tighten it up so it's nice and tight against you, move around, loosen it, shoot. If I'm doing anything where I might be doing a bit of climbing or walking, or if I just want to put my camera over the edge of a cliff, this is really helpful. Got head torch number 1. A head torch is a head torch, just easy light to have. This one here I bought because it has red light, which is better for not damaging your eyesight when you are shooting astro. So if I'm out taking photos at night, I'll use the red light to help me set up my tripod, my camera settings, so that it's not damaging my night vision, so I can still see the stars and stuff around me afterwards. Head torch number 2. This is my older head torch. It doesn't have the nice red light that the newer one does, but I always keep this in my bag because you never know when your batteries are going to run low or you might lose one, and I'd rather be carrying a second head torch than a spare set of batteries. It's also nice if someone you're with hasn't got theirs, you can save the day, lend them yours. And also if you ever do want to go get someone to stand on an edge in blue hour, nice to have a torch available. Pocket knife. This knife here, whilst it's not the prettiest thing, it's tipped as being world legal carry. There's a lot of rules with the blade length, how it opens and whether it locks or not, and this knife is made to basically comply to all the rules and regulations. You never know when it's going to come in handy to have a knife on you, so that just always lives in my bag. Little black tape. I always keep a roll of electrical tape in my bag, not just for fixing those buckles, but it can come in use in so many different ways. I can use it on occasion to cover up logos if I'm shooting a product for a different brand. I can use it to cover up any lights on the camera, add extra waterproofing to stuff. If you get a rip in your jacket, fix it up with some tape. It's really helpful to have in your bag as something that can help you quick fix stuff on the fly. I use this a lot and I'm forever finding new ways of putting it to use. I think that is the whole of the top pocket. So now we can move on to the exciting stuff of what's in the main compartment of the bag. So I'll open the top compartment first. There is loads of extra room in here that is not currently taken up. Definitely fit a lot more in this bag. So if I do want to take any extra down jackets, jumpers, any extra layers or food, that can all comfortably fit inside here still. In here, I've got the Sony 200-600 f5.6 to 6.3. This lens is quite heavy, it's quite big. When it's all put together, it's quite a beast. This takes some incredible images with loads of compression, very high focal length so you can get a lot of zoom on stuff. I really like shooting with this. It is quite big and heavy, and I will often leave this back in the van if I don't think I'm going to get too much use out of it. But the images I do get with this, I'm always so happy with. You have to think a little bit more creatively and plan your shots a bit more. Helps when you've got the walkie-talkies to help facilitate that. I really do love the images I get with this lens. It's one of my favourite lenses I think I have. In terms of the top access, that's everything I tend to keep in there. Unless there's any extra jackets or food or water, that's just all that's in the top pocket. Other thing to be said for this bag is it does still hold its shape quite well, even if it's not fully loaded. It's not one of these bags that if it's only got half the stuff in it, it just falls to bits. It still is as comfy and as useful, even when it's stripped down like it is now. So let's get into all the camera stuff. I love the back panel access on camera bags. I love being able to put my camera bag down, take it off, and then be able to lay out my whole gear in front of me so I can quickly adjust and change my setup as I'm going. This bag's got a really nice big compartment that opens up. You've got all your lenses and gear inside here. There's a few extra bits of storage in the front here which I'll start with. This is my accessory quick go-to pouch. The stuff I sort of need to get access to quite quickly. In here I keep batteries. I've got some Sony batteries, some GoPro batteries in there. Got a circular polarizer filter. Circular polarizer really helps with some of the glare from sunlight. So if you're shooting water, cars, anything where you're going to have lots of sunlight reflecting at the lens, this helps remove some of that and it can really transform a photo. This is the only filter I take with me on a regular basis. I've got some other filters like variable NDs, but I tend to keep those back unless I know I'm going to need them. I always take this out because there's a chance that I might use it in any situation. Rocket blower, always worth having in your bag, especially if you're shooting on prime lenses and you're changing lens a lot. You often get dirt, dust, bits in there. Really nice to have this when you're out and about, just to be able to blow off any of that dust, get your shots looking clean, remove any of those dust spots you don't want. This one came as part of a kit and it's nice and small, compresses down nicely, fits in my bag. don't even notice it's there, but I use it almost every day. Sticking with the cleaning theme, lens cloth, nice soft microfiber, clean those lenses off, dry them out. I've got about 3 or 4 of those in here, which I tend to use for cleaning the front element of the glass on the lenses, removing any dust or dirt. The main reason I carry these around is to dry out lenses when it's wet. When it's raining or you're by a waterfall and there's mist landing on the front of the glass, you go through these so quickly, just trying to dry it out to get you your shots. I'd much rather be using this than doing it on my t-shirt, so I've got loads of these in the bag. Next in the cleaning section is a load of alcohol lens wipes. These things are really handy to have around, just for any stubborn bits of dirt, any cleaning you need to do, really helpful. That is all the cleaning gear I carry around with me on a daily basis. I've got a little set in the van that's got more wipes, it's got some brushes in there, I've got sensor swabs, sensor cleaning solution, and I'll tend to do a major clean like that every couple of days, or if I think my camera gear needs it. But when I'm out shooting on location, I'm not going to be wiping my sensor down or doing too much stuff, because the chance of me damaging it further trying to do something in the wind or sat on a rock is quite high, I think. So I tend to just keep it quite simple when I'm out shooting and then do big cleans whenever I'm back at the van. The very last thing in this pocket is a little multi-tool, just a load of Allen keys. Comes in helpful for all sorts of stuff. I mainly use it for the peak design clips and switching over these plates from one camera to another to a lens, just so I can use my gear with various different tripods and the peak design strap. So let's get into the camera gear. First up, camera. I shoot on a mixture of the A7R3 and the A7 III, and these cameras tend to be interchanged in my bag on a daily basis. My main shooter, my main body, is the A7 III. Whilst the A7R3 has got extra high resolution, for the majority of the time it's more than I actually need. That high resolution is great to have if you're using it and you need it, but most of the time it's just going to slow down your whole process, slowing down your import times, putting more demand on your computer's graphics and processors. Your upload times, your download times, everything's just going to be stretched out because of that. And then you've got the fact that it's going to take up more space on your hard drive itself, and you're going to have to be updating and replacing those much more often. For that reason, I tend to shoot on the A7 III the majority of the time. This means I don't have to be as worried about the amount of shots I'm taking, because the file size is so much smaller, and when I'm working on them, stitching panos together, editing photos, it's just all a little bit quicker. I'll use the R if I'm working on a commercial project where the quality is going to make a difference, if I know it's being printed, or sometimes if I know I really want to crop into a photo. If I'm shooting wildlife, I know there's a high chance that I might want to crop into the photo, so having the extra megapixels is better in that scenario. Something else I do to my cameras is I tend to cover the whole of the top half here in black tape, as well as the little AF illuminator light down here. That's because this hot shoe can get a little bit of water in there sometimes and start flagging you up some errors. And then the AF illuminator light in here acts as a flashing self-timer light. So if you are taking any photos at night with other people, doing long exposures, this will flash and it can interrupt and affect their images. So just out of politeness, I cover all mine with black tape. I tend to run my camera with the battery grip on. This can easily be taken off, put on again, switch between the two different bodies depending upon what I'm using on the day. The main reason for using the battery grip is I like having the extra real estate to be able to hold my camera in many different ways, still have access to all the buttons. You can hold it and carry it in a much better variety of ways. Just for passing it around, holding it, it just works a lot more nicely for me. It's also got the added benefit of having a larger battery compartment. It holds 2 batteries at once, so you've got a better battery life in there, which is really helpful, especially if you're out on a long day. You don't have to go any bags because your battery's over at a crucial moment. Let's get into the lenses I've got now, and we'll start off with the Sony GM24 1.4. This is the lens that lives on my bodies almost all the time. It is my most used, most versatile, most applicable lens to so many different situations. It's great for taking really wide vistas and landscape shots, shows scale really nicely with people in the landscapes. You can do closer, more lifestyle, documentary type stuff. It's just really, really applicable. Also with that 1.4, it comes into its own if you are shooting Blue Hour or Astro. It's just a very, very nice lens to have and use. Probably one of my favourites, and it's definitely the one that gets the most use. Next up is the Sony G70-200 f4. 70-200 is a lens that almost everybody's going to have at some point, and it's one that I use a hell of a lot, especially if I'm not taking out the big 200-600. A lot of people ask me why I've got the f4 and not the 2.8, and the main answer to that is that it comes down to weight and size. This lens is really quite light and it's not too big for what you get out of it. The 2.8 by comparison is a little bit bigger and a bit heavier, and I find that generally I would prefer to have this as a lighter setup. If I am doing a very, very lightweight setup, which I might touch on in another video at some point, I'd usually be happy just taking one body, 24 and 70-200, and that forms a really nice lightweight setup you can use. The Sigma 35 1.4. So this used to be my go-to most used lens, which has recently been replaced by the 24mm. This lens is still a phenomenal bit of kit. Very sharp, it's nice to have that 1.4 ability to shoot low light. Really good for product stuff, lifestyle, landscapes. Very nice lens to have. It is a little heavy though, especially when you compare it to some of the other options out there. Its weight and size do hold it back, and it's always been something that has annoyed me a little bit about this lens. But it's still always in my bag and still gets used a lot. Zeiss Batis 85 f1.8. These Zeiss lenses are beautiful to work with. They've got a nice digital screen that shows your focus distance. The colours that come out of these are really, really nice, and I really like working with these Zeiss lenses. This isn't my most used lens, but it's one of my favourite ones to use. I find the 85mm focal length just creates a really nice natural compression. It doesn't feel too compressed and too zoomed, but works really, really well. It's also great being able to shoot at 1.8 with this. It's nice to be able to use in low light. One of my favourite lenses in my bag for sure. Another Zeiss lens, this time the 18 2.8. This is the widest lens that I own. It's really quite light for what it is. Same with the 85mm, it's got that nice digital screen. And this is a lens that lives in my bag. Doesn't get an awful lot of use because I generally don't like super wide angle shots, but it's nice to have times when you might find yourself by a waterfall in a cave and you do want that extra wide perspective. The final lens that's in my bag is the Sony 90 Macro f2.8. A macro lens is something I didn't have for quite a long time, and then I got one and it completely changed the way that I shoot product and detail shots. Having the ability with this to focus on such a small scale means you can really get extra detail and quality from your work. Whilst the 24 and the 35 are good for product shots, you're still limited by only being able to get this sort of distance away. With the macro, you can get so close and get really nice detailed shots. There's this perception maybe that macro photography is all about shooting bugs or water droplets, but I think you can really use this in creative ways if you want to. It's really nice to be able to get in close and show some of the unique details and textures and quality in some of the products you're working with. Really, really helpful. I do find myself taking a lot of detail shots with it, getting back to the van and being like, oh, you took a lot of shots of moss or rocks, but even with all those extra shots of stuff that I'm not really going to ever do anything with, I do love this lens and use it an awful lot. In the bottom of the bag beneath all the lenses, I keep their lens hoods, which just sit just down the bottom of this. Helps to keep the bag with some structure. Find often the different compartments can move around a little bit, so by keeping the lens hoods deep inside there, it gives them a bit of structure. Next up is the Mavic 2 Pro. Always helpful to have a drone in your bag. I go through phases of flying the drone a lot and then sometimes not flying it as much and just sticking to the traditional camera setup, but it's something that I'm always amazed by the perspective and unique angles you can get. Really, really love having a drone with me all the time. If you'd have sat me down like 5 years ago and said that you're going to have a camera that flies, that you can control, and you can carry it around in your bag anywhere you go, I just wouldn't have believed it. It's such an incredible piece of tech that I think it's something that everybody should at least have a go with. To go along with that, I've got the 2 spare batteries with it and the remote for the drone. I really enjoy with this that the sticks are removable. Really helps to keep this a bit of a smaller profile, fits in the bag a lot more nicely and you've not got those sticks being battered around. Final thing inside this bag is a little card wallet. This little tough, hard, waterproof case. Keeps a load of SD cards in there, lots of slots for different stuff. Nice to have out and about, just for when you do inevitably forget to format your card, get a full card and you need to switch over. Nice to have that to hand. So that is everything. That's generally all the gear I take with me on a daily basis. So there is quite a lot of stuff here, and as I said at the start, this bag is about 13-14 kilograms when it's full. I do try to keep it as minimal as possible and down to just the things that I actually need to have out with me. So with all of this stuff, it is as essential as it needs to be. I do use all of my lenses when we're out on location. I'd say everywhere we go, I shoot at least 4 focal lengths. I'd say more often than not, I would use every single lens within a day's shoot. It's very rare that I don't use a certain thing. A lot of the extra tools and stuff, you could argue I could leave home some days, but I find it's always helpful to have those basic essentials with you. I guess it's quite a specific kit where it's really tailored towards the type of shooting I do, which I think is really important. I don't think you should look at this video and go, well, Jack's got this, that, I'm going to put all of that in my bag. You really want to consider and think about what shooting is to you. How do you use your gear? What's going to enhance it? What you need, what you don't need. This is all just learned through years of working and picking stuff up and finding that it lives in my bag and doesn't get used, or finding that when I'm out, I want something. So this is just my take on my tools and my work. There's quite a lot of stuff left out that I could include and do take with me sometimes, like a tripod, any additional filters, but generally this is my day-to-day carry. Maybe in the future I'll do a video about my lighter weight setup if I'm doing overnight camping or if I'm doing some mountaineering, and maybe talk about the uses of some of the extra bits of gear that I've got that I don't take out with me every day. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed it, please give a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you next week.